Happy Monday, everyone.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday, everyone.
Happy
So, so, to,
Monday.
so t today we have an amazing woman with us on our podcast, Sara Safari. I'll let Armagan describe her because her accomplishments, her goals, and her mindset is just out of this world.
So, welcome, Sara,
Thank you.
to our podcast. So, Sara is a woman of many talents, but she's an author, a speaker, a mountain climber, college professor, advocate for women empowerment, and she was also an electrical engineer. So I feel like I'm sitting with a huge role model right now because I'm
Khanum
also
Muhandas.
because I'm also an electrical engineer who just loves being around people like that and learning about women's empowerment. So welcome, Sara.
Thank you.
She received the award for Global Citizen from United Nations Association 2015. She's a board member and director of development in Empower Nepali Girls, and she recently came out with her book, Follow My Footsteps, and dedicated to the Empower Nepali Girls. So, Sara, why don't you, start off and kind of continue and tell us who you are and what are you doing?
Well, I'm this very simple PhD student working on my dissertation. It just happened that I also climbed Everest.
Casually.
On the side.
Yeah. No, thank you for the amazing introduction. It's just like I moved to the United States 18 years ago with my family, and I was studying electrical engineering back in Iran. And then when I moved here, I had no idea what else to do because, all my life, my parents told me I had to become an engineer, like you guys.
Yeah.
Haven't we all been told that?
Yeah.
Doctor,
Yeah, exactly.
lawyer. Yeah.
And I was such a shy person, and I like whatever my parents said, I would just say okay. So
Yeah.
I just did what I was supposed to do in Iran, and then when I moved here, I continued on. But when I was doing my master's degree, I realized this, and then afterwards, I started working as an electrical engineer in two different companies. After a while, I realized this is not exactly what I want to do. This is not enough for me. Like there are so many other opportunities in the world, and I kind of want to be able to make a difference in a bigger level. Of course, as an engineer, you can make a difference, and we were making a difference, but I just wanted to do it in a different level. I wanted to see it for myself firsthand. And then I was a very shy person, very low self-confidence, very quiet. And I was watching my classmates, and I realized something is wrong with me. How come I'm not as sociable as them? How come I'm so quiet? And then I started asking around people. I'm like, what is there a class that they are taking that they are so confident and loud and they're very opinionated, fully self-expressed? How come I'm so shy and I just want to hide everywhere? I mean, I had my own UCLA friends, but they were mostly from Iran, from the same university that I went in Iran. And
So they were just as shy.
Yeah, they were all same.
We were all introverted and shy together.
Yes.
Yeah. Stay indoors.
Exactly. Like most of us. And then, so it was weird for me. So I decided to take this class that my friend recommended to me. It was and then also my professor, I had a presentation at UCLA, and my professor told me, you're too shy. You can't even talk for 5 minutes looking at the students. You're always looking down and you're always looking up. You need to take some classes and stuff. And then even when afterwards I went to work and I started working as an engineer, my boss told me the exact same thing.
Oh, wow.
So, and then I'm like, okay, something is really wrong and I really have to work on myself. And that's how it started. I started taking a bunch of classes, and in one of the classes, the leader of the seminar said, come up with a project so big and huge, beyond yourself, something impossible. And it was just the right moment in my life. I was ready to pick on a really big project. I was ready to create a huge change in my life. I just had to do something big, be able to move on and accept myself. And I just needed that in that moment. And I had no idea what to do. And somebody behind me started talking about Everest, and I just heard the word Everest, and I thought, oh, perfect.
I'll choose
I
that one.
That's
Yeah.
the
Yeah, I'll
one.
choose
That's
that
the one I
one.
want.
Good idea.
Yeah, because I thought, okay, I hate cold weather. I've never been camping before. I never
Oh my
slept in a
God.
sleeping bag.
Oh my God.
Like you guys,
So
I don't know if you have
everything you have to do to climb Everest, you hadn't done any of them before.
none of them, and I didn't even like them. I was like a
Yeah.
girl that would go to. Have you guys been in Darband or Darake in
Yes,
Tehran?
of
Yes.
course.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would just go in the very first place, have some omelette or some kebab, and then that was my hiking. And then I
Uh-huh.
would come back down. So I wasn't a hiker. Even one time that my friends took me hiking, I was complaining 2 days afterwards that, oh, everything hurts, my muscles hurt. Why did we do that? I mean,
No. You see, Armagan did this one time. I think you guys had gone out to Miami and just walked around the whole day, and it was
Yeah.
they were at a Kanye West concert, and they were physically.
We walked I think we parked 5 miles away because there was so much traffic, and I was wearing high heels. We walked 5
Mind you, the
miles there,
5 miles
5
is
miles back.
definitely a mile.
No, I
Fi-
tracked it. I tracked it with my Apple Watch, and we walked a total of 10 miles that day in heels. And when I got home, I wouldn't stop texting them. I'm so tired. My legs hurt. I could never
Yeah.
do this again. This is never happening again. No, no, no.
And I don't
Yeah.
mean to digress, but I want to go back to Darake.
yeah.
I remember the food that I have fond memories thereof is jigar.
Oof.
Yeah.
I think, right? Am I wrong there, or is,
Yeah. No, exactly.
Yeah.
Liver
Liver, yeah.
and
Liver,
and
yeah.
heart and
Mhm.
delo, jigar و قلوه.
good
Yeah.
times
Oh, yeah.
Those are like sweets for us, the delicacies.
with salt.
Get
Yeah.
some lime on top.
I know. Oh, anyway, so back to, Armagon, I think 10 miles in high heels is equal to climbing Everest.
There
So
you
for
go.
me,
So I did it
Oh,
too.
that's the route we're gonna go with that.
I don't think the heels made it though at the end.
The heels did not.
So I was the kind of a person, I didn't even have a pair of hiking boots. I would show up in places with my regular street shoes,
Mhm.
Right.
and then so that day in the seminar, when I decided to climb Mount Everest, I was so excited. I came home and I thought, okay, I have to do research. So I Googled how to climb Everest, and I started reading, and I realized it takes 60 days to climb Everest.
Wow.
I just closed my laptop and I left because I thought, who goes on a trip for 60
course.
days? Even if I wanted to go to Rome in a nice hotel, I wouldn't go for 60
For
For
60
60
days.
days, yeah.
Yeah, you go for a week or two and call it a
If
day.
they paid me to
Yeah.
go,
Yeah, and I'm like, no way, this is not for me. This is probably for somebody who doesn't have a job, or I don't know, it's not for me. And I decided to forget about it, but then a little while after, I came back and I thought, you know what, the leader didn't say go climb Everest tomorrow. He said take the first step towards your Everest.
Right.
And I thought, okay, you know what, I just have to see what are the steps. At least let me research. So next time that I go back to the seminar, if somebody asks me, last time you announced that you're going to climb Everest, what did you do about it? I just can say, I took the first step. It sucked. I couldn't make it. I'm not going to continue on. And then so I called this phone number, which was on that website, and I told them I want to climb Everest. They said, well, there is a whole list of mountains that you have to climb. And if you climb them successfully, then you might qualify for Everest.
So there's a prerequisite.
Yeah, prerequisite.
I
Yeah.
didn't know that. I just thought anyone, trains and gets up and goes to
What actually makes sense.
That does make
Yeah, that's
sense.
exactly what I thought. I thought like I just sign up and I go.
Yeah.
But then no, there is like a whole bunch of mountains because your body needs to get used to the elevation.
Right.
You need to learn
If
ice
that was
climbing.
the case, then you would have a whole bunch of Instagram influencers who literally do nothing. with
Exactly.
themselves
Just
but
get up. We're gonna go to Everest.
That's
Go to
right, yeah.
Trip. Yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. So I asked them what is the mountain that I should climb first. They said like Mount Whitney here in California. Go climb that one and then come back and report back. I was so excited. In the middle of winter, I showed up in Mount Whitney by myself. So
Winter? Wow.
if I had just a little experience, somebody would have told me that, dude, you don't show up alone by yourself in the middle of winter. You have to take a
Right.
team. You have
Mhm.
to have,
Especially when you've never been before and that's your
Yeah.
first time.
and there was 3 feet of snow on the mountain.
Wow.
So I had no experience. So I just thought, oh, people didn't want to show up today. I mean, if I go higher, there are people who are sleeping on
Yeah.
the mountain, but there was nobody else in the whole mountain except me.
You were thinking perfect, closer parking. I'm halfway there.
So so I started going up, and then at one point at 12,000 feet, I was so cold, and I was kind of I had a near-death experience because my sleeping bag got wet.
Oof.
I made a hole inside my sleeping pad, and I didn't take a tent with me, of course, because I have no experience. So I was about to die, but I didn't die. And that night, I don't know if you watched that video of me crying. It's in
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
YouTube
Yes.
channel. Yeah. So then I was just crying like crazy, thinking this is it. This is the last moments of my life. I better record it. And
Right.
I have a bunch of videos. In some of them, I'm apologizing to my parents and all that. But then that night was very important because I survived it. And I
Mhm.
realized, oh, this is survivable. It's hard, but it is survivable. I can do this.
Right.
So I continued on and I climbed a bunch of other mountains, but I never made it to the top of any of. So I decided to call it quits. I just thought, okay, this is not for me.
Mhm.
And the same day that I decided to quit mountain climbing, I met the founder of organization Empower Nepali Girls.
Mhm.
And he told me how the girls become victims of human trafficking. And he said, like, 18 years ago, he went to Nepal to do a research with one of his PhD students. He realized that some of the girls disappear and they become victims of human trafficking. They get kidnapped. And there is this belief, men who are HIV positive, they think that if they sleep with a virgin girl, their HIVs get treated, they get well. So they buy
Wow.
the girls really cheap. Yeah, the girls get raped, they get diseases. And even if they survive and come back to their villages, they can never have a regular life.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
It's terrible.
So I was just so shocked.
Mhm.
Couldn't go back to my normal life knowing this is happening on the other side of the world. And again, similar to the moment that I decided to climb Everest, that moment that I said, I'm going to climb Everest, this was another moment in my life that I was ready for a change again. I just needed to do something big. Again, I announced, okay, you know what? I was planning to climb Everest, but I quit months ago because I thought this is not a good thing for me. But now that I met you, I want to continue on and go back to my training. But this time is not for me. This is not just for myself to prove that, oh, I'm strong and I'm capable and I'm standing on top of Everest. Look at me. This time would be to raise $1 per foot of elevation of Everest or any mountain that I climb to provide for these girls to continue their education.
And did you
Wow.
say that right then when you were in the office, or did you go home and
No,
what can I do?
no.
How
That
can I
moment,
help?
that moment I said I'm just gonna climb for
Oh,
this
okay.
organization. But then I went home and I thought about it. I'm like, if I want to do fundraising, I'm such a shy person that there is no way that I can even raise $10.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I need to come up with a nice plan, something that inspires people, something that people feel empowered that they are actually helping somebody on the other side of the planet, but
Right.
they also want to support me. So I really, it took me a while, actually a couple of months to figure this out. But
Yeah, because when you hear something like that, the first thing you think is, how can I help? And you immediately think fundraiser, but putting on events, I feel like that's everywhere. People put on events, raise money, but you want to do something where you're actually in it. You're up front,
Right.
see that the money's going to the girls, it's helping them, and you're actively taking part in doing that, right? Because a lot of
yeah.
the times fundraisers will
And
just raise money and
and
you
you're
don't
inspiring others to, partake
Mhm.
as well and join.
Yeah, and there are a lot of people who are my friends, and vicariously were climbing through me, you know. So I would, every time that I would climb a mountain, I would come down, have a big event in my house, or you know, in
Mehmuni.
yeah, exactly.
Would you
And when
vlog your climbs going up? Would you
yes,
vlog your
yes,
experience?
yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah. Not officially. I would just take pictures and share a PowerPoint slide with my friends when I come down, and I tell them, okay, this mountain was 27,000 feet, so we raised $27,000, and
wow.
this helped like 150
Wow.
girls to go to school one whole year. And then everybody would celebrate and donate even more, and then we go to the next round, like the next
Right.
mountain.
It would just get more and more
So
each
let
time.
me ask you, what year was the first mountain you climbed?
2013.
So this is all relatively recent, within the
Yeah.
last.
Yeah, everything the past 7 years.
Wow, that's amazing. So
I mean, not including 2020. 2020, I haven't done any climbing.
2020 is canceled.
2020 isn't
Yeah.
included in anything in anyone's life anymore. That's something we brush over.
Exactly. So what happened was, I was ready for Everest. I climbed all the mountains that they mentioned. I was doing fundraising. I had to train twice a day. I had 2 different jobs. So I would go to the gym in the morning, go to the first job, and then go to the second job, and then go to the gym. And weekends were fundraising. I was just going crazy.
Did you
But
have
I
a
was
trainer with you to help you, or did you do everything on your own?
I used to go to a boot camp, and the boot camp was like a bunch of people there. I told the trainer in the boot camp that I'm training for Everest, so I might sometimes show up with my heavy backpack and do everything that everybody else does with my backpack, so that my body get used to a heavy backpack.
Right.
So and they gave me an okay. Most of the gyms around here, they didn't allow me to take my backpack inside because it was a liability for them. But my boot camp, they were like very flexible with me, so I could do everything that I mean, and they paid extra attention actually to me too, because I was about to go on Everest, you know.
Yeah, it's a matter of life and death. It's not a matter of, you know, getting, you know, your I guess your traps to pop out more. It's yours endurance and
Yeah. And then
that.
so again, my workout just sometimes was a little bit different from everybody else, you know. Like a lot of people were focused to, you know, on their upper body, but as a mountain climber, I'm not supposed to have a very strong upper body, because up there in the mountain, because of the lack of oxygen, if I have big muscles, my muscles, they need a lot of oxygen. My
Right.
legs, they need to be strong because I'm climbing, but my
Right.
arms, they don't have to be strong because those muscles would eat up all the oxygen that I need myself. So you know, it's a weird way of working out. I have to make sure that I'm not gaining a lot of muscles up in my arms.
Every day was leg day.
Yeah.
Every day was leg day. Exactly.
What about for your diet and nutrition? Like, did you work with a nutritionist, or you were just doing that all yourself? Because I'm sure you would have to eat differently than you normally do to maintain that health before you go climbing.
Yeah, so I you know, like all the other athletes, I used a lot of protein powders and hydration powders, and I tried different kind of brands. Just I was trying to find the one. This I'm talking about the past 7 years in general.
Okay.
I mean, this year and last year I've been only using one brand, but before that I was very focused. I mean, I wasn't very focused. I would use everything, try to figure out which one works the best for me. But then another thing is, like, when I work out so much, especially if I do it twice a day, I'm burning so much calories that I can continuously eat and nothing happens.
Oh, that's
I wish.
I wish.
But now it is not like that because I'm not working out as much as I used to. I mean, it's 2020. I don't know. It's weird.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's 2020.
No, see, in 2020, all the calories count double.
Exactly.
Nothing seems to be in its place.
It's quarantine weight. It goes
Yeah.
away.
I mean, we had a
I know.
toilet
I'm
paper shortage,
hoping.
for God's sake.
Yeah. So I'm hoping next year. I mean, as soon as I put a mountain on my calendar, then my workout changes.
Yeah.
But I don't have anything on my calendar right now. I have no idea when we're going to be done with this COVID. But anyway, I mean, I'm still working out, maintaining, but it's not like crazy working out. And then to answer your question, Armagon, regarding diet, of course, like my protein intakes goes really up when I have to maintain all the muscles and all that. But in general, I'm a healthy eater, so it doesn't matter. Even I was just trying to eat moderately from everything. You know, when I'm closer to them to my climb, I wouldn't drink alcohol or anything. You know, because my body is already under so much pressure. I'm working out so much that I wouldn't put an extra pressure on my body.
Right.
But it depends on where I am in my training.
Was there a set target weight that you had to reach, to be able to carry all your equipment, your gear?
Well, no, not for me, but my backpack, like the heaviest backpack that I carried was 85 pounds, and the heaviest sled that I carried was 120 pounds. And I myself, I am 120 pounds. So when I'm pulling 120 pounds, I just have to be really strong. So,
Right.
I would wear my backpack around the house, and every day I add something to the backpack. So the backpack gets heavier and heavier and heavier. And, like as I'm washing dishes and cooking,
Just
So
walking
let me,
around
let me
watching
ask you this.
Netflix.
In this backpack, so did you have all your mountain gear in the backpack, or was it just random household items with weights?
Just rocks,
that
sang. Sang pack, daddy.
Random household items.
Pulls out a book, some silverware.
Yeah, it's mostly bottles of water. I fill them up, and then if it gets too heavy, I empty them, and then I just, depending on the time of the day, if I'm tired, if I have backache, the bottles get emptied or I fill them up. It's just very by year.
So,
kind of a
okay, so you were
situation.
saying, where was she? She was
Yeah.
saying you were
Oh, okay.
training
So I
for
was
Everest.
on Everest. Yeah. Finally, it was time for Everest, and I was ready to climb it. I climbed all the mountains that they mentioned. I was done with it. But when I was on Everest, remember I told you it takes 60 days. So when I was
Right.
on Everest on day 25, April 25th, 2015, there was a 7.8 earthquake that just struck Nepal.
Wow.
And when the earthquake happened, I was on a wall. Like imagine like a 30-40 feet wall, and I was on top of the wall. There were like 5 ladders connected to each other, and I was on top of the 5th ladder. And 2 people in my team were ahead of me above the wall, and 5 people were below the wall waiting for me to finish the wall, because only one person at a time can climb the wall. And then when the earthquake hit, the whole wall started shaking left and right and left and right. And coming from California, right away I could tell that this is not a normal mountain moving. This is something extra. And even though I kind of could tell this is an earthquake, at the same time I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, you're shocked.
That there is no way on
You were saying
Everest
Ajab
at
Shansi.
20,000 people.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm the
Why me?
luckiest person alive. Yeah. And you know what? It's just between all the places that I could be on that elevation, even like that part of the mountain, it's called Kumbu Icefall. Kumbu Icefall is the most unstable part of Everest. There are
great.
pieces of ice the size of a car.
Oh
They
my
are they are hanging in 45 degrees. So even without the earthquake, any piece of ice can break down and fall on you and you disappear. It's like that. So now add a 7.8 earthquake to this whole thing. And it was very scary, very scary. I couldn't believe it that this is happening to me. I was extremely shocked. And
How long did all this last?
I think I Googled it a few days ago, actually. Finally, I had the courage to Google it. I think it was like a minute, but I felt like it was like 5 days.
I was gonna say a minute in that moment probably feels like
it felt like a life. It felt like 2020.
Feel like a minute. Yeah, exactly. It feels never ending.
Every second counts. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I could see my whole life in front of me. Like I really saw my childhood in Iran, and we moved to the US. It's like everything. I saw everything, and the ground was still shaking. I'm like, come on, you need to stop.
I have
And
no more memories to remember right now. Come on, let's get moving.
Exactly. So I climbed up really fast past the edge, clipped myself to the anchor, and I started wrapping the rope around my arms because I thought I'm on the avalanche route, and the avalanche is coming. It's gonna hit me in my chest and I'm gonna fall down the mountain like into a crevasse, and nobody can ever find my body because crevasses are these deep icy valleys, like dark, like they're just so deep that Nepali people say if you fall into a crevasse, you fall into the United States. Because Nepal is that
Yeah.
side of the planet, US is
Right.
this side of
Pop right up.
yeah. So if you have anybody who wants to move to the US right
Just
now,
hop in
falling
there.
into a crevasse is the best
They're
technique.
about to build a wall there, I heard.
Tell the Iranians, signal them.
Exactly. So then the
So hold
crevasses
on.
are
I don't mean to interrupt. Is there like you can't have an avalanche training? I mean, there's no mechanism to have like an actual. But is there like something you could read or something like a manual or something that you've read ahead of time to kind of like know mentally what to do?
Yeah. So we have a transceiver connected to us, which means like if we are buried alive under the avalanche, they can come find us.
Right.
And in my jacket I have this RFIDs that people can find me. But if I fall into a crevasse that deep, it is so dangerous that nobody would risk their life in the middle of the earthquake and aftershocks to come save me. They were like, okay, let's forget about her because there's 6 more people here that we can save. And that's one thing. The other thing is, yes, there are avalanche trainings, but it's just theory. They're like, okay, when the avalanche happens, you do this, you do that. But I mean, at that moment I was so shocked that I couldn't think of anything. I mean, I couldn't even think of any English words that I could hear people yelling stuff at me. Like my guide was like, do this, do that. I'm like, what are you talking? Which language is this? This
like
one? I have no idea. Yeah.
I was telling them that today. I was saying in a normal scenario, even when I'm with my friends that aren't Irani, sometimes I forget certain words in English and I can only think of it in Farsi. And I'm sitting there telling them the word in Farsi and they look at me like, what are you trying to say? So I imagine you with all that shock was probably even worse. I do it on a normal basis.
Yeah, and I get it. And so I couldn't think of any words. I mean, so I was just trying to do the things that came to my mind. Like I was kicking my feet to the ice to fix myself. But then, at one moment, I realized there is nothing more that I can do. And whatever I do at this moment, there is no way to survive this. The avalanche is coming. It's going to hit me. I'm going to fall down the crevasse. I'm going to be buried alive under the snow. And this is the end. And I should just accept it. And there was this moment that I accepted it, that well, this is how I'm gonna go. And the moment
you were at
that
peace with it.
yeah, and everything is stopped. Everything is stopped. We had to continue going up. There were 50 ladders that we had to cross over crevasses, and finally we got to the top. Not top, I mean next camp. And everybody was so shocked when they saw us because where we were supposed to die, but we didn't die. And we survived it. We continued up, and then we waited there for helicopters. And then finally, after 8, there were like so many aftershocks, avalanches. But after 8 days, a helicopter took us to Kathmandu, capital of Nepal.
Okay, so Sara, I have a question about now. The earthquake lasted a minute, okay, as you said. But how long did the initial avalanche? How long did that take to finally stop?
I think the whole thing was a minute. Because the whole thing was just was an earthquake. The earthquake was
I
a
understand.
minute.
My question is, okay, the earthquake stops, the ground stops shaking, but the avalanche is still continuing to go, no?
Yeah, but the avalanche around us, they kept going. Even 8 days after, every hour we had like a mini avalanche happening somewhere on the mountain because everything was still very unstable, still
Mhm.
shaking. So not fully shaking, but all the ice that they were sitting on top of each other, they were just trying to release their power and settle down and all that. So
Right.
I guess it took, there was still avalanches 8 days after. When the helicopter came to rescue us, to take us to Kathmandu, I even saw an avalanche on the last day.
Mhm.
So yeah, there are so many of them.
So there's a specific destination, sorry, that you have to reach for the helicopter to evac you guys? Or why did you choose to go where you went climbing up?
Camp One, which is at 20,000 feet, is an area which is kind of flat, so it's easier for the helicopter
Okay.
to land.
Mm.
But
Oh, okay.
it's 20,000 feet. There is
Right.
not enough oxygen. There's not enough air up there. So the helicopter needs air to create some lift to be able to do fly.
Uh-huh.
And so it was kind of really hard for the helicopter to land. The helicopter didn't land fully. The helicopter was just hovering, and we had to jump on the elevator. Somebody pushed me inside the helicopter. It wasn't like helicopter lands
Right, everyone walks
and it
in.
Get
turns off
on.
its
Yeah.
engine. No,
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
still hovering, and we jumped in it. I mean, they took out all the chairs in the helicopter, everything, because at 20,000 feet, because of the rescue was so risky.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Sounds
Some
like a
people
scene
were
in Rambo.
yeah, kind of. Anyways, and then it's funny because we had to say goodbye to our gear because they told us that the gear will stay up here. So imagine my mountain climbing gear. I love them so much. I had to leave everything up there in the mountain,
Yeah.
and
Pura pala
it's
Sara,
just
shusha todo.
exactly so expensive. Anyways, so after 8 days that we came back to Kathmandu, it was crazy because everybody was so shocked and traumatized. But I was really angry because I just raised money for the girls to continue their education. But now they didn't even have food or water or a house or shelter or a place to sleep, restroom. It was
Yeah.
just so annoying. I was so angry that
Hmm.
everything that I did was for nothing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I
that's
was running around in the city trying to find the girls and see how they're doing, if they, because this is 8 days after, now 9 days after the earthquake.
Right.
It's 9 days
Yeah.
that they're sleeping on dirt. It's 9 days that they don't even have water or food. So I found some of the girls, but now 7 years after, I mean 5 years after, that was 2015. Everybody is good and fine, so don't worry about them. They're doing well. But I had to work so hard.
yeah, they all
We
went through
had to
tough
like,
times, very tough
Yeah.
times.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's unimaginable tough times. Like and we are complaining about, oh, COVID this, and I can't go out and I have to wear a mask and this and that. But relatively speaking, what we're going through here is nothing
Yeah.
compared
In
to
comparison to them, it's
it's
yeah.
nothing in comparison to their daily life.
Exactly. Even
And of course
without COVID
add a
and
deadly
without
risk.
an earthquake. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
Yeah.
So going back to the climb itself, okay, so when you guys were stuck, you were stuck for 8 days. Now you have this 8 days of just like nothing, basically, of just waiting. Did you know that it was going to take X amount of days, or was it kind of like maybe this happens, maybe this doesn't happen?
No, I had no idea.
Okay.
We
Oh,
And
didn't know.
then
We didn't. They told us that the helicopter cannot make it because 10,000 people died that day, and they said all the helicopters in the country and the helicopters from the neighbor country, they're all trying to get the dead bodies and injured people from
right.
the rubbles. And you guys are sitting in your, I don't know, tents. You have food to just hang in there until we are done with the
Because
rest
this
of
was
the
how
country.
many days into the climb you said?
25.
Day 25.
Day 25. So you had another month worth of food and water, basically,
Yeah,
no?
yeah, yeah.
Granted, none of the
I mean,
equipment and snow.
water, we had the snow. We didn't
Right,
have
that's true.
fuel. We didn't have fuel to
hmm.
melt the snow. So they had to send a helicopter at least with fuel for us so we can continue living.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
but no rescue point. Was there like a point where everybody's just like, this is how it ends when you're up there?
No, we are a pretty hopeful community. So people were trying to keep up the spirit. They were talking. No, Actually, I was very traumatized, but people who experienced avalanches and earthquake on the mountains before, they were actually doing really well.
Okay. Relatively speaking.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
So
yeah,
what was the
or at least they didn't show it. I was showing it to everybody that I'm not doing well. I'm like, this is crazy. What just happened? But then
hold on.
the people were
What was the
trying to
most
keep it.
Iranian thing you did on that mountain?
Oh, when I was extremely sad and I was crying to heal myself, I started having laboshak and peste to heal myself.
boy.
I love that you took it with you.
I love
Yeah,
it.
like in a nylon bag, just
Exactly. Like licking the laboshak was so healing.
That is
And
really eatery.
Yeah.
it worked, kept the spirits up.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
That's
Labo
I mean,
Shack is so healing. I always keep the little mini ones in all my purses. Anytime I feel stressed, I just open it up and start chewing on it. That's hilarious.
no, but the thing it was probably frozen. She had to lick it.
But still, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
Probably
Labo
exactly.
Shack
tasted better
ice
that way.
cream. It's like a
Yeah.
little what do they call
yeah,
it? Basani kimi or something.
Okay, so
exactly.
what was the biggest physical challenge? I know a lot of it's mental, but what was the biggest physical challenge there? Just climbing the mountain.
At higher elevations, like on Everest, because we only could go up to 20,000 feet, and I've been above 20,000 feet a few times. So at 20,000 feet, it wasn't very hard for me. So physically, I wasn't challenged. I was very challenged mentally.
Right, of course.
But usually on the mountains, like Chioyu was 27,000 feet, and like up there at 27,000 feet, it's negative 40 degrees. The wind is really strong. It's so cold, and you because of the lack of oxygen, you haven't slept for a few nights already.
Mhm.
And it's so tiring and so hard to convince yourself to take one step, just one step. I have to talk with myself for 10 minutes to tell
Yeah.
myself that please just one more step, please. And it's just that's very physically
Your
challenging
body's
when
shutting
it's like
down.
very high
Yeah,
elevation.
your center of gravity has to be so strong that
Mhm.
one, you don't get knocked over by the strong winds, and two, you can actually keep moving.
Yeah, have your
Yeah,
balance up. Don't tip
yeah, and
over.
then when you haven't slept for the Chuoyu was 45 days, when you haven't showered for that many days, when you haven't had normal food for that many days, when you haven't used the regular restroom for that many days, it's just there's so much stress on the body that every single cell in your body wants to give up, and you
Mhm.
have to still continue going up. And then a lot of times when we go for the summit, it happens during the night. So imagine somebody wakes you up at 10 p.m. for breakfast, and then you start walking at 12 a.m. It's negative 40 degrees. The wind is so strong any moment. You don't see anything, and there are a bunch of crevasses all over the place. Like at any moment, you can just fall down and disappear. But then at the same time, when the sun rises and all these beautiful mountains, they start getting a little orange and then a
Yeah.
little yellow, and then the light moves down and you can see the whole world, like the whole
I was gonna say
curvature
you
of the
say
earth.
amazing sunrises,
You're
but
you're
Yeah.
literally on top of on at the top of the world.
Yeah, and it's just so gorgeous that at that moment I'm like, okay, it was worth it. It was totally worth it. That
Mhm.
that I tortured myself for 45 days. I didn't shower. I didn't eat anything. I mean, like a normal food. I mean, we have dehydrated food and
Every
tasteless
Labo
food,
Shack.
but yeah, peste. Like I take all
I've had
all
dehydrated food. It's awful.
yeah, yeah. I
It's
mean, I found some brands that they are really good, but not all of them. But yeah, anyways, you have to find your favorite.
so
Uh,
tell us about the Sherpas.
oh, they are so amazing. Without them, nobody climbs anything. I mean, the professional climbers do, but I don't consider myself a very professional climber. I still need them to do anything because they are just so strong, so kind, so peaceful, so amazing. They go before us. They set up the route, they set up the rope, and then everybody else follows the rope after them. So they are the very first people who summit, and everybody else goes after them. Like all these
How
people
big
who
is your
climb,
group?
most of the time that I've been climbing, 6 people.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the Sherpas are vital. It's not like, I mean, you're saying the professional ones, do they go or could they go alone? Professional mountain climbers.
No, most of the time they still wait for the Sherpas to set up the ropes and stuff, you know, because it's very risky. I mean, we have a handful of people in the world who do it by themselves with their friends, and it's very risky. We lose a lot of amazing mountain climbers every single year just because they were by themselves or with a friend. They didn't have a backup team. So the risks goes really high if you don't go with a group of help and guides and stuff like that.
So now you have your team. How is this team picked out? Is it just random strangers that just meet at base camp and say, "Hey, how are you? We're gonna climb to the top of the mountain."
Do you need another one? I'm here.
Yeah. Well, yes. So as strangers, I have most of the mountains that I've climbed, 99% of them, I show up on the mountain, I don't know anybody, and we just, but then at the end of 45 days, imagine like eating and talking and peeing in front of each other. We're best friends.
Yeah.
You're like a little family because you're
They'll
bonded.
see the best and worst of you.
You went through a life-changing experience together.
Yeah, exactly. Like, who do you spend breakfast, lunch, dinner, breakfast, lunch, dinner, breakfast, lunch, dinner for 45 days in a row, and your life depends on each other, and all day you're sharing stories of your life, and then at above certain elevation you start sharing even more, because like, you know, like at that you cannot think straight, so you say things that you might not even say to your own sister.
And you bond, you create more of a bond as the days go on, because you go through harder challenges as you're going.
Are you all tethered together with a rope?
Yeah, depending on the mountain. If you're on a flat area which is safe, no, but if you're on a crevasse and on a glacier, yes, we are all connected with a rope to each other.
So
literally bonded.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you still in touch with these people?
Yeah, some of them, yeah.
And they were, I'm assuming, from all over the world.
Yeah, from all over the world, from Australia to Canada to Europe to Middle East, all over the world, and US, of course.
Right.
South America, yeah. So do you want to hear the rest of the story?
Of course.
Yeah.
So then I came back down the mountain. I was very traumatized. And then finally I flew back to the United States. I just couldn't go back to my normal life, knowing that on the other side, they are still suffering. So I did a lot of fundraising events here, trying to build back their homes and their schools. But then at one point I thought, I have to write this down. I have to write down all these memories, all these pain to be able to continue on with my life and move on with this experience. So I wrote everything that was in my heart, and I published my book. And after I published my book, I thought, okay, I cannot teach the girls to give up. I have to teach them not to give up. Life happens, shit happens. You still have to continue on and live your life fully. So I said, I'm going to come back and climb Everest again, and not just Everest. I'm going to add 6 more mountains. I'm going to climb the 7 highest peaks on 7 continents, not just for Nepali girls. I'm going to climb for 7 organizations who are empowering women. So I started climbing again and again. I actually tried Everest, but then I still haven't summited yet. But now I have climbed 6 out of 7 summits.
Wow,
I only have, thank you, 1 more to go, which is Everest. And this year, because of COVID, they closed down the whole mountain, so nobody could climb Everest. So hopefully next year.
Is that like an immediate thing you're going to do once you're able to?
Yes.
Start training for again and then go back. Wow.
Yeah.
A lot of anticipation.
So but the interesting thing is, like, when you're climbing for something like Everest, you have to start training like 6 months before, like 3 months before, at least. And so I have to be ready. So as soon as they open the mountain, I have to kick my training up so that I can actually be ready by the time that they open the mountain.
Now, is the training for Everest different from the rest of the mountains?
Yes, all the mountains are very different from each other because each mountain has its own requirements.
Mm.
So yes, it is different, but it's kind of easier for me compared to some other mountains. Like for the mountains that I have to carry 85 pounds, which is a lot of pressure on my back,
Yeah.
it makes it much harder for me. But for Everest, because we have 4 camps and we have help of Sherpas to help us to carrying a lot of stuff. So my backpack wouldn't be heavier than 40 pounds,
Right.
which make it much easier for my body shape. And for Everest, you have to be actually, you don't have to gain a lot of muscles. It's a lot of cardio because you want your heart to be really strong for high elevation. It's all about elevation training. So it's actually compared to some other mountains, it's not that bad.
Yeah, I've seen the mask people wear. I think
Yeah,
to reduce the oxygen intake. I think
yeah,
that's what it is. So I seen them at
yeah,
the gym.
yeah.
Sometimes they'll wear it on the elliptical,
Yes,
not the
yeah,
elliptical, but the
exactly.
The
stairmaster.
staircase, yeah.
Yeah. That's one of the things that I do. Yeah.
I have one question going back to pre-mountain climbing, and then I think we can get into some rapid fire questions that we have too. So what would you tell women that were in your shoes in corporate America or just in the engineering field, thinking of when you were doing that job in that field, who want to also pursue their passions just like you did, but they're scared to take that first initial jump, to leave their job or to leave their careers and what they're doing in the corporate world and just go pursue their passions? What would you tell them for that first leap that they would take?
That's a great question. Like everybody else, I also like nice stuff. So when I was switching from my engineering job, the number one thing that I was thinking, like, am I going to be able to buy this nice stuff, like this nice purse and this nice shoes and this dress? Would I be still able to buy all of this for myself if I switch and I change my job completely? Or if I pursue my dream, if I do other things. And at the beginning it was hard. Like it took me a few months of mountain climbing to figure this out. But I remember one time I was in a tent. I was climbing Aconcagua. Aconcagua is 23,000 feet and it takes 20 days to climb it. So imagine like it's 10 days already that I'm in a tent living. In a tent you have to have like minimal stuff, like minimum of everything, like 2 socks, 2 shirts, 2 pants.
Yeah.
That's it. Like nothing fancy and no
Socks
makeup, no
cannot get
cream.
wet.
Yeah, exactly. And if I have time, if I see a river or something, I go wash my socks and I'm carrying in my backpack to dry them out so I can wear them again tomorrow. So then after 10 days, the whole trip was 20 days. When I came back down from Aconcagua, I was a different person. I realized I don't need that much that I think I do. And I realized my happiness doesn't depend on things. Until before this climb, I always thought I have to have things and I have to have this huge house and then an awesome car and this to be happy. But that 20 days in Argentina on Aconcagua, I came back down, I realized I don't need much. I can just live a simple life and be extremely happy. And that was the shift for me. So for people who are listening to this and they are thinking about their shift, I would recommend try living simple for a few days. It doesn't have to be Aconcagua. It can be a simple camping somewhere or just simple living. Somehow create simple living for yourself. Like instead of having a fancy coffee, just have water for a few days. Instead of having fancy blah blah, have something simple, and then see if your happiness depends on that or not. If it doesn't, then live a life that makes you happy. Why are you
It's
keeping
like that
yourself
Netflix
stuck?
show, the Marie Kondo. You hold on to it. If it doesn't give you love, you
Yeah,
let it go.
let it go. Yeah.
The sparks joy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then that was when I changed my lifestyle and I was ready to take on the next step. And nothing happened overnight. I'm still work in progress. I still haven't figured out everything. It's like I'm still learning. So I might say something to you today and tomorrow I'm like, oh, what I said yesterday was total mistake. I have to live this other way. So I'm
Right.
not saying that I know everything. I'm just saying for me, the shift was when after a bunch of climbing and bunch of simple living and sleeping in a tent with nothing really, with 2 shirts for 20 days, I realized, oh, why do I have 400 shirts? Two was enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's something we all get stuck on nowadays, is always wanting more stuff.
Yeah.
Always wanting this and that, and thinking material things will make us happy or fill that little void that we aren't filling by going after what we love and pursuing our passions. But I mean, what you're saying is great advice. If you just go after your passion for even a week and forget about all the material stuff, I'm sure if that's something you're truly passionate about, you won't even care about the material stuff when you come back, because you found what actually fulfills your soul and your
Yeah.
purpose and makes you happy.
You find purpose
Yeah.
in your life. Yeah.
All right, she's shaking his head like, maybe not. I still want the fancy stuff when I come back.
Listen,
I still want to drive my Tesla.
Yeah, I still want to live in
listen.
that big house. But no, I get
Listen, I could slum it all I want, but it's the idea of coming back and knowing you have XYZ, you know, as far as what
well, I guess that's the difference. I guess some people would come back and still want that lifestyle, and some people would come back and be, I guess, changed. I don't know. I still like my material stuff too. Like thinking of the same two shirts for 20 days.
so
Hard not
Sara,
me, but
correct me if I'm wrong. I think the mindset is that you need to show yourself that you're able to live without these things.
exactly.
Yeah, it is not, I'm not saying get rid of them. I'm saying
Yeah.
if you see yourself that you can live
Mhm.
without them and your happiness doesn't depend on them, then you are more confident to take a risk and create a change. I'm not saying get rid of them, keep them.
Right.
But
Yeah.
then when you have more confidence to change something, you're not gonna work for this company when your boss is an a-hole and you don't like your job, and
Right.
everybody,
Right. You
they don't
stop
respect
doing
you the way
things
they
that
should
don't
respect.
make you happy
Yeah.
because of financial gain. You just
Yeah.
stop doing them and do things that make you happy regardless of the financial outcome.
But I think people have to experience it for themselves, that
Yeah.
they can survive
Yeah.
in a really simple way of living. And then when they experience it for themselves, they're like, oh, I could do that. Not, I mean, I can still be happy doing that. So I'm not gonna stay at this job that I really don't like.
I mean, honestly, even I know we keep saying COVID in 2020, but even going through a quarantine for the few weeks or months, some of us did longer, that we did. I mean, me personally changed me a lot, because I was always relying on material things. Every time I was upset, I would get up and go to the mall and buy something to make myself happy. And that's how I would make myself happy if I was in a bad mood, or I would go to my favorite restaurant. But after everything, I know Arash is laughing, but after everything
Now
was
you just get it online.
no, I don't get it online. But everything was closed for so long that I realized that like your happiness really depends on you and just the people you surround yourself with. I was with my family so much more. I was with my circle of friends so much more, and we
You
didn't
started a podcast.
we started a podcast. I didn't need those, going out and having big wild nights or going to the mall and having a big shopping spree to be happy. You just become grateful for like the little things.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think that
exactly.
truly this COVID situation was the best for the introverts. They felt right at home. This is
Yeah.
like, oh,
Oh yeah, it was
isolation,
great.
stay at home, perfect. This is what I know. So, Sarah, I had a question for you. So your whole now purpose was to, climb Everest, and that was, your metaphor for people to climb your Everest. And so,
Yeah.
when you first attempted to, climb these mountains and do the training, you said you failed a couple times and that you actually had gave up. So, you saying that you encourage people to face their fears and, step out of the comfort zone. So you attempted it and you failed, and, you got into another job. But it wasn't until that you saw these photos of these girls in Nepal that truly, reignited that motivation in you. So would that be like some sort of an advice or something that you can give to people that, that you encourage them to step out of their comfort zone, but not necessarily, if they can't do it for themselves, maybe find, a group of people or some kind of charity or fundraising and have that maybe be your motivation?
Yeah, I think when you're like that was how was it for me. For me, when I started doing it for somebody else outside me, rather than just focusing on myself, my motivation was higher.
Hmm.
and I really experienced it by every cell in my body, because like there were times in the mountain that I was so tired I just wanted to quit and come back home. But if
Yeah.
the mountain was for myself and nobody, like, if I haven't advertised it, or it was kind of something like private, I was like, okay,
Yeah.
let's call it quits. I'm just gonna go home. Nobody knows. But then
Mhm.
when I announced it, and then the girls in Nepal, they knew, and I told them I'm climbing this mountain for you, and
Yeah.
wait, I'm gonna come back in 45 days and uh, take a picture of you to the top of the mountain. Then I had to take a picture of her to the top of the mountain. She
Right.
was waiting for
Promised,
me.
right?
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, so then that gave me so much more strength, and at the same time it was more empowering for myself. It wasn't just about torturing myself. It was about, for every step you are taking, you are raising $1. For
Yeah.
every step you are taking, you are feeding this person for one day. So take
You
one more
change your
step, take one more step.
you change your perspective on it. You take look at negative thing and change it into a positive, so that it push you to keep, climbing that mountain higher and higher.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. And so yes, I recommend that when you connect a cause, and find a cause that you're very passionate about, find a cause that really moves you and inspires you. When you do something, a big project like Everest for a cause, it's just, there's more juice, there is more power, there is more self-expression in it.
Mhm.
And yeah, so I think I just got lucky when I met the founder of this organization, and even
Yeah.
luckier when I met the girls in Nepal, because meeting them really took my game to the next level.
It's just how everything just aligned, and it's just an incredible
Yeah.
story, honestly.
Like meant
So
to
what
Yeah,
you're
be.
you
doing
gave
is
up, and then you met someone
incredible.
who's doing fundraisers in Nepal. I mean, if that wasn't a sign to like not give up
Yeah.
on that Everest dream, then I don't know what is.
Yeah, I agree.
So your story is phenomenal, and it's not even close to anything we've heard as far as inspiration, and because you physically are conquering mountains. I mean, you're not conquering getting $1 million in sales in a month. You're
Yeah.
Yeah.
doing something
You're putting
completely
yourself
different.
out there and doing it.
Really doing things that are humanly impossible. I mean,
so,
people
so
just don't do that naturally.
so with that being said, we're all human,
Mhm.
and we all have favorite things, and this is where we get into our rapid fire segment of the show.
Okay.
So we're gonna ask you some quick rapid fire, short and simple answers. Some are meaningful, some are just not meaningful. I mean, you take it how you want it.
Okay.
So, Sarah, your favorite book that you've read?
Power of Vulnerability by Brené Brown.
Of the 6 summits that you've climbed, what was your favorite mountain?
Denali in Alaska.
Is that the second highest behind Nepal,
Uh,
the Everest?
it's the most technical between all the seven. It's the hardest one between the seven.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Was that why it was your favorite?
Yes.
Favorite city that you've traveled to?
Malta. The Malta is a little island south of Italy.
What's a city that you want to travel to that you haven't been to?
Budapest.
Oh, that's a great city.
I knew Arash was going to say something.
Yeah.
That's a
He
great
lit up.
city.
Arash loves Budapest.
I went there for 3 nights or 2 nights. I don't know, but that's such a great city. It was like 19
It
degrees.
was that good, he doesn't remember.
That's true. That's true. It gets purged from my memory. But yeah, go to Budapest. Good God.
All right, favorite quote.
If your life is very easy, you're not living a very big life.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Your current role model.
Michelle Obama, Ellen DeGeneres, Oprah Winfrey.
Wow, she got that one fast.
Yeah, she
You
knew.
knew it.
So if you could pick anybody to have lunch with, who's dead or alive, who would it be?
My dad, who passed away before I was born.
What's your favorite fruit? Being from a Persian background, we love fruit. What's your favorite fruit?
I have so many. Gorgeous.
You can pick one fruit to go on a climb. What
One.
is it?
Your
Oh,
go-to.
gonna climb. Gorgeous house for city. For the climb, I would take a banana.
Okay,
Yeah.
I can understand it.
That makes sense. Yeah.
I
Okay.
have to. I need the calories.
Mhm.
Okay. Gorme sabzi or karafs?
Forma sabzi.
Yes.
Oh, we've been getting split answers from guests, actually. All right, what's your favorite Persian dish?
Korma sabzi.
Oh,
Okay, and
Two for two.
we're gonna ask another redundant question. What's your favorite food overall, Iranian, not Iranian?
Watermelon.
Watermelon. Okay.
hmm.
And what is the weirdest thing you've eaten, and where was it?
Oh, it wasn't very weird for you guys. I had the brain of the ship.
Oh,
Where
tell us
in,
about it.
like in
Caliposh,
Iran or
yeah.
somewhere else?
No, in Marrakesh.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah, I think I had, I think I had the balls too.
Nice.
wow. Okay.
Was it similar to the ones in Iran, or
Yeah,
had it
no, it was
similar?
similar.
So
All right, and that's the end of rapid fire. You did
Oh,
really
wow.
well. Good
Nice.
job.
I was
we didn't go
expecting.
we didn't go at you that hard.
No, yeah, we didn't go
Yeah.
that bad.
No, it was very easy. The next time, make it a little harder. I can
Okay.
take it.
We will.
Just as hard as Everest, we'll make it.
Yeah, we'll make it
Yeah.
harder each time.
All right, perfect, awesome. I have
So-
more stories for the next time, though.
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
great.
Yes,
we'll
no.
have
Love to
you
hear
on
them.
again. You have like I said, your story is just so different from anything you run into. I mean, how often do you run into someone that's even been to Everest, let alone, has climbed it,
Twice now.
twice, and then you're gonna summit it eventually, hopefully on your
Yeah.
next round where you go.
Third time's the charm.
Yeah.
We'll be excited
Yeah.
to see that. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank
so
you.
we're gonna tag your we'll put all your social medias and all your websites and everything in our tags throughout the week. We want to all of our followers, please go follow her stuff. It's great information. It's great motivation.
Inspiring,
She
empowering.
posts a lot
have
of
to go climb
stuff.
Everest, but climb your Everest, as Sara you said earlier in the recording. So
And also
thank you.
our news challenge before we end.
Yes.
Our news challenge. Sorry, if you want to tell us what it is for this week.
Try something that scares you every day. It can be simple, like eat something that you haven't had and you were scared if that the taste wouldn't taste very good. Like experience new things that you haven't tried.
Okay.
Especially if it scares you, it's even better.
There you
Okay.
go.
So I'll try carafes then.
Oh, stop.
Stop, Art. I'm gonna go stand on a balcony and look down because I'm scared
you
of
go.
heights.
Yeah, perfect.
All right.
Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. We would love to
Thank
have
you
you on
so
again,
much.
and hopefully we could schedule that with you. We want to hear
Yeah.
all your stories, really. So if you want to come back next week, you're more than welcome to.
tell us part 2 of everything. But no,
Yeah.
thank you so much for coming on. You're really such a role model and inspiration for people. Really, you rarely hear stories like this. So thank you so much for coming on our podcast.
Yeah. And we're all rooting
Thank
for you,
for
you know.
having me. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
All right. Take
Thank
care.
you so much, Sarah.
All right.
Bye,
you
everyone.
Thank you, Sarah.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.